Hey guys! Today we have a collection of stories that will truly make your blood boil. You'll learn how a mother launched an entire investigation based on an ultrasound scan and save her 15-year-old son from a false pregnancy and a brutal deception. Next up, a story about a cheeky Tinder guy who showed up for a date in a wreck, but managed to insult the girl's car, for which he was dropped off right in the middle of the highway. And for dessert, a guy who dumped a girl over a stupid Instagram quiz, and a dude who spent $6,000 to surgically change his voice. This is going to be juicy, so like and subscribe, and we'll get to the first story. My 15-year-old son planned a pregnancy with his girlfriend, but then I found something on her ultrasound scan. I'm using a throwaway account for completely obvious reasons, as the situation has turned my entire family life into a massive nightmare. I'm a 30-year-old female, and I have a 15-year-old son. Let's call him Leo. I also have 3 younger children aged 3, 7, and 10. As you can probably tell from my own age, I was a teen parent myself. I got pregnant with Leo when I was 15. However, my husband and I were lucky. We stayed together, got married at 18, went to trade schools, worked our fingers to the bone, and managed to build a very stable, comfortable life. We own our house, have a solid income, and our marriage is incredibly healthy. This background is very important for what happened next. Leo has a girlfriend named Maya. They have been best friends since they were about 7 years old. Maya's family used to live in our neighborhood, and our kids went to the same school and shared the same friend group. My husband and I know Maya's parents. We weren't best friends, but we were friendly. We'd say hello on video calls when the kids chatted, and we even had drinks a couple of times. About a year and a half ago, Maya's family had to move 3 states away to a tiny, remote town because the cost of living and rent in our city skyrocketed. Ever since they left, Leo has been absolutely miserable. He spent months begging us to pack up our lives and move to that exact same town. He would give us these ridiculous sales pitches about how housing was cheaper there and how there were better jobs, none of which applied to our specific professions. By the way, my husband and I consistently said no. We have a life here. Our younger kids are settled in schools and sports, and we aren't going to abandon our stable careers because of 15-year-old Mrs. Friend. Any mature adult understands this, but of course, a teenager does not. Fast forward to last Christmas. Maya's family came back to our city for 2 weeks to visit relatives, and the kids met up a few times. I was under the impression they were always hanging out in a big group with their old school friends. But apparently, that wasn't the case. A few weeks after they left, Maya's parents contacted me and dropped a bomb. Maya was pregnant, and from what I gathered, it wasn't an accident. I want to clarify that Leo has always had full access to protection in our house. I grew up with restricted access, which is why I had him so young, so I made sure my son was fully educated. He had sex ed from us, from his school, and he knew exactly how babies are made. Immediately, Leo started demanding that we move to Maya's town so he could be a father and live with her. He even asked if he could move out there alone. I sat him down and said, "Absolutely not. You are 15. We don't even have medical proof that this is your child yet. I am not moving our entire family away from our lives, and you are not leaving this house until you turn 18. I told him we would demand a DNA test as soon as possible, and then we would look into official legal parenting plans. I topped it off by telling him that he made his bed, and now he had to sleep in it, but on our terms. Leo immediately took my answers back to Maya and her parents. Within 24 hours, Maya's parents completely cut off all direct communication with me and my husband. They blocked our numbers and social media. They sent a message through Leo saying that my comments about a DNA test were disgusting and insulting, and that I was a terrible, cynical person. This completely fueled Leo's anger toward me. He started shouting that I was actively keeping him away from the love of his life and his future child. He actually tried to use my own life as an argument, saying, "You got pregnant at 15 and you're still married and successful, so why can't I do the same?" It was incredibly painful to hear because he didn't see the years of poverty and struggle we went through to get here. I started to feel incredibly guilty, wondering if I was being too harsh. A couple of days later, things got worse. Leo finally broke down during a huge argument and admitted that the pregnancy was completely intentional. Apparently, Maya had suggested it as a joke at first, saying that if she got pregnant, Leo's parents would be forced to move to her town so they could be together. The joke quickly turned into a deliberate plan during the Christmas holidays. Maya's parents refused to text me, but they kept using my son to pass messages. One evening, I was standing outside Leo's bedroom door and heard him on a FaceTime call with Maya's mother. I clearly heard her say, "Tell your mother that we are appalled by her behavior." We thought she knew Maya better than that. They were actively talking crap about me to my own kid, empowering his rebellious behavior and destroying my authority. I also knew some background information that made me highly suspicious. Maya is a sweet girl, but her behavior has always been a bit unstable and attention-seeking. Her home life is complete chaos. It's a blended family with 9 children packed into a small house, and several of the teenagers suffer from severe behavioral and mental health issues. Leo would basically be leaving a calm, structured, middle-class home to plunge into absolute madness. On top of that, Maya had actually broken up with Leo twice over the last year because she found a local boy in her new town that she liked better. Both breakups happened around August and October, and whenever those brief flings ended, she would run back to Leo because he was loyal. By late May, the situation became unbearable. My husband and I were completely blocked by Maya's family, but they were still talking to Leo 24/7. I told Leo that this had to stop. I said, "You're going to video call Maya right now with me in the room. I want her to get her mother on the line so we can talk like adults. If they refuse, I am confiscating your phone and cutting off all contact until this is legally sorted out." Leo threw a massive tantrum, but he realized I was serious. He made the call. Maya answered, but the second she saw my face next to Leo's, she instantly hung up. Leo tried calling back, but she ignored him. Instead, she sent him a text asking why his mother was hovering over him. Leo texted back exactly what I told him, that we needed to speak to her parents to arrange a prenatal DNA blood test and make a financial plan for birth, and if they refused, contact would be cut. He added that I personally believed the baby was likely his, but we just needed to be 100% sure legally. In response to that text, Maya completely blocked Leo on everything. My son was utterly heartbroken. He spent 3 days sitting in his darkroom, refusing to eat, crying his eyes out. But surprisingly, he wasn't mad at me anymore. I think the reality of how quickly she discarded him finally broke his illusion. He even looked at me with tears in his eyes and asked, "Mom, is there a way to just undo all of this?" I didn't bring up signing over parental rights because he was too fragile, but my heart ached for him. The next day, one of Leo's local friends showed him Maya's public Instagram account, using a secondary profile. Maya had just announced her pregnancy to the world. She posted things like, "It's just you and me against the world, baby girl," along with a bunch of passive-aggressive memes about deadbeat dads who abandoned their responsibilities. All of their mutual friends knew Leo hadn't abandoned anyone, so they started defending him in the comments, explaining that Maya was the one who blocked him. Maya quickly deleted the comments and blocked all of them. But here's where the story takes a crazy detective turn. Leo's friend managed to look at the slideshow of Maya's pregnancy announcement post. One of the slides was a digital copy of her first official ultrasound scan at the clinic. Maya had previously sent us a crop photo of the printed printout, but the top part with the dates was missing. It looked like it had been intentionally cut off. But on this digital slide, the full information was visible. The scan was dated April 4th. And right there on the screen, the gestational age read, GA, 19 weeks plus 3 days. I have given birth to 5 children. So I immediately grabbed a calendar and started doing the math. If she was 19 weeks and 3 days pregnant on April 4th, that means her conception date was sometime in mid-November. But Maya was living 3 states away in November. She didn't visit our city until December 20th. And Leo explicitly told me that the only time they were ever truly intimate without supervision was on January 4th, when they snuck away during a mutual friend's birthday party. If the baby was conceived on January 4th, she would have been only about 12 weeks pregnant on April 4th. A medical ultrasound measuring a baby at nearly 20 weeks doesn't lie. The timeline was physically impossible. The baby could not be my son's. I didn't tell Leo right away because his mental health was in a terrible place, and I needed to be absolutely certain before I gave him hope. I decided to find another way. I contacted Maya's biological father, who still lives in our city and has no relationship with her chaotic stepfather. He had no idea his daughter was even pregnant. When he found out, he called Maya's mother in a rage. Suddenly, Maya's mother unblocked me. She was furious that I involved the biological father, but she finally agreed to a prenatal DNA blood test on condition that my husband and I paid the full $1,500 fee for it. I agreed. A few days later, Maya unblocked Leo and called him. She claimed that she wanted to come to our city for a summer holiday to do a private ultrasound with him to prove the dates. She told him, "There is no other option. You are the father." The doctor's skin went by the wrong period dates because I didn't remember my last cycle and just used a phone app. That's why the machine showed 19 weeks. I knew this was absolute medical nonsense. An OBGYN ultrasound measures the actual physical crown-to-rump length of the fetus to determine gestational age in the first trimester, not just what the patient tells them. But because I wanted to end this nightmare, we bought Maya a plane ticket to fly out to us for a 6-week visit over the 4th of July holidays. The night before her flight, Maya texted Leo saying she couldn't come. She claimed her doctor suddenly put her on a no-travel restriction because she was at risk for preterm labor due to her young age, and that her morning sickness was so severe she could only tolerate pineapple juice and needed to be hospitalized. Literally 2 hours after she sent that text, one of Leo's friends sent us a screenshot from a local teenager's Snapchat story in Maya's town. It was a group photo taken that same evening at a bonfire. Maya was standing there, very visibly pregnant in a tight t-shirt, with her arms tightly wrapped around that local boy she had dated back in August and October. His hand was resting directly on her pregnant belly. That was the absolute final straw for me. The girl was running a massive scam, likely supported by her parents, to pin her pregnancy onto my son because my family has a stable house, a good income, and a reliable future, while her current boyfriend's family is probably just as chaotic as hers. I immediately contacted a family lawyer and a therapist for Leo. My lawyer reviewed the ultrasound video that a mutual friend later managed to download for us, a video where the technician clearly says, "Your due date is August 26, which matches perfectly with your measurements." August 26. If she is due in August, she got pregnant in November. Leo knows everything now. He is incredibly angry, hurt, and embarrassed that he was targeted and manipulated like this. But he is safe, he is home, and he has all the support he needs. We are still going to demand a court-ordered DNA test through our lawyer the moment that child is born, just to legally close this chapter forever and ensure they can never come after my son for child support in the future. My son learned a brutal, life-altering lesson at 15 about trust, boundaries, and protection. I am just incredibly relieved that I trusted my gut, stood my ground, and didn't let my own past as a teen mom blind me from seeing a toxic trap. Let's move on to the second story. I left my Tinder date on the side of the highway after he insulted the car I inherited from my late mother. I'm still kind of processing what happened last weekend, so I just wanted to share this here. I'm a 22-year-old female, and a few weeks ago, I matched with a 31-year-old guy on Hinge. Let's call him Marcus. From the very first day we started texting, Marcus was constantly bragging about his lifestyle. He kept telling me about his high-paying job as a senior systems engineer, the fancy restaurants he usually hangs out at, and especially his car, a midnight black BMW 4 Series coupe, that he claimed was his absolute pride and joy. To be honest, I'm a pretty low-key person, so all that flexing was a bit much for me, but he seemed polite and attentive otherwise. So I agreed to go out with him on a Saturday afternoon. We planned a nice day. First, a walk to the local contemporary art museum, and then a drive down to a nice waterfront spot for dinner. On the morning of the date, Marcus texted me with a sudden update. He said, "Hey, minor annoyance. A truck kicked up a rock on the highway and cracked my BMW's windshield yesterday, so it's in the shop getting replaced. I have to borrow my younger brother's car to pick you up. Hope you don't mind a little downgrade." I texted back saying it was totally fine and that I didn't care what he drove. Well, about an hour later, he pulls up to my apartment complex, and my jaw honestly dropped. The car wasn't just a downgrade. It was a completely battered 20-year-old Honda Civic covered in literal rust, mismatched matte black spray paint on the hood, and a bunch of edgy anime and skate stickers plastered all over the back window. The exhaust was making this horrible, deafening, sputtering noise. I'm really not a car snob, but the contrast between this loud, spray-painted junker and the sophisticated engineer he pretended to be over text was pretty jarring. Right then, I made a quick executive decision. I walked out, greeted him, and suggested, "Hey, since we have to drive quite a bit today, why don't I just drive us in my car? It might be a bit more comfortable." He looked a little embarrassed, but quickly laughed it off, hopped out of the Civic, and we got into my car. My car is a 2021 Honda Civic. It's nothing fancy, just a reliable, clean sedan, but it means the world to me because I inherited it 6 months ago after my mom unexpectedly passed away. I even kept her favorite floral patterned seat covers on the front seats because they make me feel close to her, and Marcus actually knew about my mom's passing because we had talked about it briefly during our text conversations. The moment Marcus sat in the passenger seat, his whole mood changed. He started looking around the interior, smirking and chuckling under his breath. I asked him, "What's funny?" but he just waved his hand and said, "Oh, nothing, just thinking about something from work." We drove to the art museum, and things went from weird to downright confusing. We walked up to the ticket counter to pay for entry. Tickets are $25 each. But before I could even pull out my wallet, Marcus smoothly steps ahead of me, reaches into his pocket, and pulls out an EBT card, a government food and social assistance card. He flashes it to the cashier because our local museum has a program where low-income residents with EBT cards get free admission. Now, look, I have absolutely nothing against anyone using government assistance. Times are incredibly tough for a lot of people. But I was standing there completely bewildered, thinking, how does a 31-year-old senior systems engineer making 6 figures qualify for state welfare benefits? It just didn't add up. He didn't even offer to pay for my ticket. He just got his free entry, turned to me, and waited while I paid my $25. The walk to the museum was okay, mostly because I focused on the art, but Marcus kept making these weird, arrogant comments about how basic the exhibits were. After about an hour, we decided to head out and drive toward the waterfront for the dinner portion of our date. About 5 minutes into the highway drive, Marcus turns to me, touches the dashboard, and asks in a smug tone, "So, is this car actually yours? Like, did you choose this?" I replied, "Yeah, it's mine. It was a gift, actually." Marcus let out a loud, mocking laugh. Wow. Personally, I would have respectfully declined. Honda Civics are literally the most low-quality NPC cars on the entire market. Driving one of these just tells the world you've completely given up on trying to stand out. I was so stunned I didn't even know what to say. I just stared at the road, my hands tightening on the steering wheel. He wasn't done, though. He glanced down at the floral fabric beneath him and said, "And honestly, these girly seat covers are doing you 0 favors. It looks like a grandma's car. You should throw these in the trash and go for a sleek, all-black leather look. Let me know if you need help picking something decent." My blood was absolutely boiling at this point. I swallowed my anger and said as calmly as I could, "Those are my mom's seat covers, Marcus. I told you she passed away recently. I keep them because they were hers." He didn't even flinch. He just shrugged, leaned back in his seat, and said, "Okay, but I'm not sure why that matters now. It still looks objectively bad. If you want people to take you seriously, you need to upgrade your taste." That was the absolute breaking point for me. The sheer, unadulterated entitlement of this man was mind-blowing. He was riding shotgun in my clean, reliable car after getting into a museum for free on public assistance, while his own supposed BMW was magically invisible, and he had the audacity to sit there and insult a dead mother's belongings. I realized right then that the BMW didn't exist. The 6-figure engineering job was almost certainly a lie. He was an insecure, broke liar who was projecting his own deep-seated financial insecurities onto me to make himself feel superior. I didn't say a word. I just blinked, switched lanes, and pulled my car over onto the wide shoulder of the highway, right near an exit ramp. I put the car in park, unlocked the doors, and looked at him. "Get out," I said. Marcus blinked his smug smile instantly vanishing. "What? Are you serious?" "Dead serious. Get out of my car right now." I told him, my voice completely flat. "Wait, we're on the highway. It's a 20-minute walk back to my brother's car from here." "Are you crazy?" he started yelling, his face turning bright red. "You can walk, or you can call an Uber. I don't care, but you are not staying in this low-quality car for another second. Get out." He realized I wasn't playing around. He grabbed his jacket, slammed the passenger door with all his might, and started shouting curses at me through the window. I just put the car in drive, stepped on the gas, and left him standing there in a cloud of dust on the side of the road. When I got home, I immediately blocked his number and his profile on Hinge. A part of me wondered for a second if I overreacted by leaving him on a highway, but honestly, he lied about his whole life, insulted my boundaries, and disrespected my mother's memory within 2 hours of meeting me. I feel like I saved myself from a total narcissistic nightmare, and I don't regret a single thing. Let's move on to the third story. Here we have a classic situation where a girl decides to play detective and psychic, but ends up alone. Listen, I dumped my girlfriend of nearly a year because she posted a test on her social media, and I refused to play her high school games. I'm a 25-year-old male, and just yesterday, I officially packed my bags and ended my 9-month relationship with my girlfriend, who we can call Haley. Apparently, nowadays, if you want to be a decent boyfriend, you're supposed to treat your girl's social media profiles like a 24/7 corporate crisis management job, and honestly, I am just way too old and way too tired for that level of nonsense. To give you some quick context, Haley is the kind of person who is completely obsessed with her online image and how our relationship looks to her friends. I'm a pretty quiet, old-school guy. I work in logistics. I come home. I like to look at car parts or watch a game, and I don't spend my life scrolling through feeds. But over the last 9 months, I've been noticing a million little red flags that I stupidly kept ignoring just to keep the peace. Haley loves setting up these weird, silent traps to test my love and attention, turning our daily life into a total mental puzzle. For instance, a couple months ago, we were sitting on the couch together watching a movie. She randomly got up, went to the kitchen, and came back with a single glass of water for herself. I didn't say anything because I wasn't thirsty. Well, about an hour later, she started slamming doors and crying because I failed a basic empathy test. According to her, if I truly loved her, I should have noticed she went to the kitchen, anticipated her actions, and asked her to bring me a glass too, or offered to go instead. Another time, she intentionally left her car keys on the kitchen counter before leaving for work, just to see if I would notice them, pick them up, and run downstairs to give them to her before she reached her car. I was in the middle of a remote work meeting, so I didn't see them. That resulted in a 3-day silent treatment because I don't care about her safety or her schedule. But the absolute breaking point happened 2 days ago on a Thursday evening. I had an incredibly brutal, exhausting day at work, dealing with delayed shipping containers, angry clients, and a ton of paperwork. By the time I got back to our shared apartment, my brain was completely fried. I just wanted to eat dinner, shower, and zone out. While I was taking a shower, Haley apparently posted a completely black image to her Instagram story. There was no photo, no background, just a solid black screen with a tiny text caption in the corner that read, "It's funny how the people you ride for the most are always the ones who disappoint you in the end. LOL. Lesson learned." No context, no tags, no explanation. Just pure, vague, passive-aggressive bait. When I got out of the shower, I opened my phone to check my work emails, and I briefly saw her story because it popped up at the top of my feed. I read it, blinked at it for a second, and immediately closed the app. In my mind, I assumed she was just throwing shade at one of her dramatic work colleagues or having another minor fallout with her sister, which happened at least twice a month. I'm not a mind reader. I hate internet drama, and I am definitely not going to feed into vague attention-seeking posts. So I just ignored it, went to the kitchen, made myself a sandwich, and asked her what she wanted for dinner. She just stared at her phone, gave me a cold, one-word answer, and went to bed early. The next morning, the bomb finally exploded. I was putting on my boots to leave for work when Haley stood in the hallway with her arms crossed, glaring at me like I had just committed a federal crime. She looked at me and said, "So, You're really just going to walk out that door without saying anything about my post last night? I stopped and looked at her, completely confused. What? Your Instagram story? What about it? You saw it, right? I know you were active online, she said, her voice shaking with anger. And you didn't even bother to text me or ask me if I was okay. You completely failed, Marcus. It was a test to see if you actually pay attention to my emotional state, and you didn't care enough to check in on your own girlfriend when she was clearly hurting. I just stood there holding my keys, feeling the sudden wave of absolute exhaustion wash over me. Wait, so that cringy, vague post was about me? What exactly did I do to disappoint you yesterday? It doesn't matter what you did, she shouted. The fact that you didn't immediately message me the second you saw a sad post shows me that you are completely cold, emotionally unavailable, and selfish. Right then, something inside my head just clicked. I realized I was a 25-year-old grown man, working a hard job, coming home to a girl who expected me to decode invisible ink on a social media app just to avoid a massive temper tantrum. I looked her dead in the eye and said, Haley, I don't check Instagram every 5 minutes, and I am not a teenager. If you have a legitimate problem with me or with our relationship, you need to act like an adult, sit down, and use your words to talk to me. Fishing for compliments and attention through public childish stories is manipulative and immature. I'm done. She instantly burst into tears, screaming that I was being heartless, cruel, and that I was trying to turn the blame back onto her. But I didn't want to hear it anymore. The illusion was completely shattered. I walked into the bedroom, pulled my big travel duffel bag out of the closet, and started grabbing my clothes, my passport, and my laptop charger. She followed me into the room, sobbing hysterically, saying, Are you seriously breaking up with me and leaving our apartment over one small social media post? You are a monster. But as I was packing, I looked at her and realized it wasn't about one small thing. It was about the million little traps, the constant walking on eggshells, the exhausting mood swings, and the endless drama. I didn't want to live my life feeling like I was constantly on trial or taking a surprise exam that I was guaranteed to fail. I want a peaceful home, not a psychological game show. I grabbed my bags, walked out of the apartment, and went to stay at my brother's place. She had been blowing up my phone for the last 24 hours, sending me massive paragraphs about how I ruined her life and how I'm a coward for walking away over a simple mistake. But I haven't replied to a single text. I finally blocked her number, logged out my accounts, and for the first time in 9 months, I took a deep breath and felt a total sense of peace. My life belongs to me again. Let's move on to the fourth story. I paid $6,000 to completely change my voice through surgery, and I don't care what my family says. I'm a 26-year-old male, and I just got back from a medical clinic in Istanbul, Turkey. I'm writing this while sitting in my bedroom, still recovering, and honestly, for the first time in my entire life, I feel a strange sense of relief when I open my mouth to speak. To give you some background, I was born with a naturally very high-pitched, feminine voice. When I was a kid, everyone told me, don't worry, just wait until puberty hits. It'll drop and you'll sound like a man. Well, puberty came and went. My body changed. I grew a beard, but my vocal cords completely missed the memo. My voice remained exactly where it was when I was 11 years old. For nearly 15 years, my life was a living hell because of it. Every single time I picked up the phone to order food, call a bank, or talk to a customer service representative, the person on the other end would invariably say, Yes, ma'am, right away, miss, or How can I help you, lady? It didn't matter how deeply I tried to push my chest out or how much gravel I tried to force into my throat. The second they heard my natural pitch, I was instantly categorized as a woman. It completely eroded my self-confidence and destroyed my social life. I developed severe social anxiety. I dreaded going to drive-thrus. I avoided making phone calls to the point where I would pay my brother to call utility companies for me. And dating was an absolute joke. I tried using apps. But whenever a girl met me in person and heard me speak, I could see the immediate look of confusion and turn off in her eyes. It felt like my body was playing a permanent, cruel joke on me. Whenever I tried to open up to my parents or my close friends about how much this was destroying my mental health, they would immediately shut me down. They'd say things like, Oh, stop being so dramatic. Your voice is totally fine. or "It's unique. It gives you character." They didn't understand that it's easy to call it character when you aren't the one being humiliated every single day just for saying hello. A few months ago, I decided to do my own deep medical research. I went to see an ear, nose, and throat specialist, and after thorough examination, I was finally diagnosed with a rare voice disorder called puberphonia. Essentially, it's a condition where the larynx and thyroid cartilage fail to descend properly during male puberty, causing the vocal cords to remain tight, thin, and high-pitched. The doctor told me that while vocal therapy works for some, in my case, the physical structure was just locked in place. That's when I discovered that there's a specialized surgical procedure called relaxation thyroplasty. It's an operation where a surgeon goes into a small incision in the neck, alters the thyroid cartilage around the voice box, and physically loosens the vocal cords, which instantly drops the pitch of the voice. The catch? The best surgeons for this specific, delicate procedure are located in Turkey, and the entire thing, including flights, the hospital stay, and the surgery, would cost me around $6,000 out of pocket. The moment I told my family about my plan, they completely flipped out. They accused me of having a mental breakdown, told me I was wasting my hard-earned savings on unnecessary plastic surgery, and warned me that I could end up permanently mute if the operation went wrong. My mom literally cried and begged me not to alter the body she gave me, but they weren't the ones living in my prison. I had the money saved up for my job as a remote software QA tester, so despite all their protests and guilt trips, I booked my ticket and flew to Turkey completely alone on a whim. The day of the surgery was the most terrifying day of my life. Sitting in a foreign hospital room, not fully understanding the language around me, I kept wondering if I was making a massive mistake. The operation itself took about 2 hours under local anesthesia because the surgeon actually needs you to remain awake and speak during the procedure so he can tune your voice to the perfect pitch in real time. When the doctor adjusted the cartilage and told me to say, I coughed, opened my mouth, and this deep, resonant, masculine sound came out my throat. My jaw dropped. It didn't even sound like me. It felt like a stranger was talking through my mouth. The post-op pain was honestly unreal. It felt like I had swallowed broken glass for a week, and I wasn't allowed to speak a single word for the first 7 days to let the stitches inside my larynx heal. I had to use a text-to-speech app on my phone just to communicate with the hotel staff. It's been about 2.5 weeks now, and the swelling has finally gone down. My voice used to measure well over 130 hertz, which is firmly in the female range. Now, it sits steadily at 86 hertz, a deep, completely normal male baritone. Yesterday, I went to a local coffee shop here at home to try it out for the first time in public. I walked up to the counter, looked at the barista, and said, "Can I get a large black coffee, please?" The guy didn't blink. He didn't look confused. He just said, "Sure thing, man, that'll be $4." I walked out of that shop holding my coffee, and I literally had to sit in my car and cry for 10 minutes. For the first time in 26 years, I felt normal. I felt like the man I was always supposed to be. My family is still acting incredibly weird around me. When I talk to my mom on the phone now, she goes quiet, and she admits that hearing this deep voice coming from her son feels creepy and unnatural to her. My friends keep making jokes that I sound like a movie trailer narrator, and some people think I was insecure and stupid for risking a surgery like that just for vanity. But I don't care what any of them say. It wasn't about vanity. It was about quality of life. Spending $6,000 to finally feel comfortable in my own skin was the best investment I will ever make. And I don't regret a single second of the pain.